All right, everybody, welcome back to the CrossFit Rife podcast, where we talk about the pursuit of health and happiness via CrossFit and tell member stories and just talk about stuff in general. Intros to CrossFit, people's background, their life stories, interesting things, the meaning of life.
That's deep.
Stuff. It is deep. Again, you guys know the deal. No shortage of just super cool people in the community. And I have one here with me today. Christina Womack goes as Kris.
Yes.
I like to call her. Well, you don't have. I was gonna talk about your colored hair, but it's not colored.
It's not colored right now. It's usually purple.
I know. Blue hair, don't care.
Yeah.
So she's you've been with us for 2.5 years.
Oh no, not even that long.
No,
it hasn't
really?
even been a year. We're looking at like 6-7 months.
Okay. But no stranger to CrossFit, but just with us for that long. I thought it was longer, but that's not a bad thing.
No.
Cool. Cool. So let's just start with a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What's your background? What do you like to do?
That's always a conversation starter.
Like long walks on the beach and
No, not really. I am actually from a little town in New Mexico called Truth or Consequences.
That's the name of the city?
I swear that is the name of the city. We had one stoplight growing up. No.
Truth or Consequences?
Have you ever? There's an old game show called Truth or Consequences.
I just know Truth or Dare, but
it was a TV show, and a guy named Ralph Edwards used to host it. Well,
this podcast is starting off amazing already. We're literally a minute and 45 seconds.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's always a conversation starter.
Truth or Consequences?
So from there,
okay.
On the driver's license, they can't fit Truth or Consequences, so they put T or C. My first time going to a military base as a 17-year-old, I got pulled over and questioned.
And they're like, this is
freaking
fake.
out. Yeah. Back then, you didn't have smartphones. You couldn't just pull it up. I sat there for an hour and a half.
Like, what do you tell them? You're like, no, I'm from Truth or Consequences.
I'm
and they're
fighting
like,
back
ma'am, you're on
tears
drugs.
at this time. And they're like, no, we're going to need to search your vehicle. Mind you, it was a Ford Taurus, fully packed to the brim. And they
like,
wanted to take
cocaine in
everything
here.
out. Yeah. It was like, oh my God. So, yeah, went through that. They looked it up on their computer, apologized profusely.
As they should have.
Yeah. That was my first experience.
I kind of feel there's obviously a right and wrong way to handle everything, but to some extent, if you see that on driver's license, you're like, this is bogus.
I mean, yeah, there's fake IDs out there, But
I've never used one.
me neither. Truth be, I've never really needed to, but
I have definitely not used one in the last. How old am I? Yeah, I've definitely not used one in the last 17 years.
okay. I won't even ask.
That's a different story.
I won't even ask.
That was a different time of my life.
So yeah, we didn't have a whole lot where I grew up.
So tell me, I am just, my mind is spinning right now. What is Truth or Consequences like?
So it used to be Hot Springs. Okay, that was the original name of the town.
And they decided that Truth or Consequences
because
was a
the
good
governor
change.
went on the game show, ended up winning, and spent stupid amounts of money that couldn't be used anywhere else.
Of course not.
To then change the name of the town. So now we're still Truth or Consequences. It's not uncommon to see a tractor going down the road. People freaked out when we got a Walmart.
Well, that's not weird.
No,
it's not.
It's
I'm from
totally
South
common.
Louisiana. Tractors are not like a weird thing.
It's the kind of town where people knew your business before you knew it. So,
Truth
not
or
a lot to do there
Consequences.
at all.
That is crazy interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, well, little fact.
Okay. So when do you leave Truth or Consequences?
When, so I was 17 when I got married to my husband, Justin.
Yep.
I followed him when he went off to college in 2006. I was in the middle of my senior year. Don't do this. I followed him.
You literally just dropped out of school and left.
I literally just left.
Okay.
I went with him. I mean, it all worked out in the end, but being that young, I had my dad's support and my mom's support.
They're just like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, my life story, like we said, goes deep. Jerry Springer could make seasons off my family.
Man, this is going to be a great podcast.
So I left. I got up and left.
You left because that was the better option?
I left because that was so much better of an option than what I was handed.
Do you mind if I ask?
No,
about
you can
that?
ask.
Is that like,
the town that I come from is known for making meth.
Got it.
unfortunately, my family got in deep with it. So I had to grow up super young.
Okay.
Super young. My siblings and I
So
are
the drug
all
world is very real to you growing up.
very real. I am the only person out of my mom's side that did not get involved with it. Period. Yeah, it was very important to me to get as far away from that as I could.
I always find that incredibly interesting. That's because I've heard stories like that where the family is entrenched in criminal activity
Right.
of some sort. And it just doesn't seem reasonable that a child growing up would be like, I don't want to do this. This is not right. Particularly if that's all you've ever known. You know what I mean? So like, how do you, as a kid, how do you kind of come up like that? And you're like, I don't want to do this. Like, this is terrible.
So the statistics were stacked immensely against me.
That's why I'm asking.
I grew up watching my mother be married. I don't even know how many times at this point. Low income family. Like I said, our town just didn't offer much, and that was the only choice. I don't know if it was just me watching my sister be abused or watching her kids be abused, but I didn't want that for myself. I knew that everybody has a choice.
You're just seeing it, and you're like, this is not right.
Yeah,
Not good.
everybody has a choice, though. Everybody has a choice. I've had a horrible upbringing. It was obviously no longer up to my parents to bring me out of it because that was their choice. If I wanted a better life for myself, I had to be the one to do that. And so that's why I followed Justin.
What's Justin's family like?
His family, they grew up doing activities together. They were constantly
Fairly
doing
normal,
things as a family. Yeah, I grew up in a church. I wanted to be a part of that. And my husband came into my life at a very critical time. If he had not come into my life when he did, I would not be sitting here. I would be that statistic mother back in Tier C on drugs and who knows how many kids. So me following him in the middle of high school was a good thing for me.
This is a concept that I've had, or an idea. It's very real for you, but for me, it's a concept. About that scenario where, let's talk inner city or not inner city, rural city, where people are in a really bad scenario, and a lot of people would say, well, hey, you're just stuck there. You can't get out of that.
That's the easy way out.
To which my counter, and again, I'm not insinuating that anybody in this scenario that this is at all easy, right? But my dad and his family just packed up Cuba and left. But my question has always been, I'm not saying it's easy, but why not just pack up and leave? It's not like you can't.
Right.
You can.
Right.
Kids run away from home all the time.
I think the unknown is scary to people.
I don't disagree. I just feel like I would agree with you that it is the easy way out is to stay there. However, it's actually the harder life.
Leaving my life at the age of 16, leaving my family. Granted, I had been to Arizona before, which is where he went to college. I had an uncle there. It wasn't
Is that where you guys went to?
too crazy. That is where we left to. I couldn't allow myself to repeat the cycle because I always knew I wanted kids, and I was not about to put them through that. And I hope that I continue to go down the straight and narrow, but I don't talk to some of my family because of, I don't want them to be involved with that. So I think that was a big driving force with me was my future family, because you have to think ahead.
It's incredibly mature for somebody at that age to make decisions like that.
Like I said, I had to grow up really quick.
Was that hard for you to leave, even though, so you're living a life that you're just like, hey, this is not what I want, but is it still hard to leave?
The hardest part for me was to leave my little sister.
Oh.
That was the hands down hardest decision I've ever had to make.
How much younger?
She's about 7 years younger than me.
So
I played mom to her.
She's like 9 at this point.
Yeah, she unfortunately is still there. Makes decisions occasionally that I don't agree with, but that's her life, her choice. But there are times where I think if I would have stayed, because I was that role model in her life, would her life be any better than it is now? Because I couldn't take her with me.
I don't know what that's like. Although I think I can empathize with those feelings, but I don't know that that's fair to you. Because you would have, in most of those scenarios, at least statistically, we could speak to statistically, I don't know that you would have made any difference. You would have gotten sucked into the vortex as well, and it would have been
Right.
2 losses.
Right, and I think about that too.
And that's a hard conversation. It's
Yeah. Thankfully, I still have a connection with her. Like her and I have actually, for myself, apologized to her and said, hey, I didn't do this to leave you behind.
Yeah.
I had to make a choice for myself. Again, it's all about your choices, your decisions. Yes, they affect everybody else, but if it's going to benefit you and your family in the long run, you got to make hard decisions. And I did. And it's benefited me, you know.
Well, I also think there's a counter argument to that. And again, this is, a fairly uncomfortable conversation for some people.
That's okay.
Where you could say, listen, I was a role model. I left.
Right.
And I set the tone for, or you, not me, but I'm speaking as you. And you set the tone for, hey, you don't have to stay here. You can leave.
Right.
It's not easy, but you have the choice.
Right.
And when you're old enough, go ahead and do that. And then, they either do or they don't. But that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So left, followed him to Arizona, and he was going to an IT school for cars, for vehicles, like mechanic stuff.
Is he a gearhead?
No.
Okay.
He used to think he was, but no.
He's like me.
I actually do
I
more
like
of
to
the
think
car
I'm
stuff.
handy, but I'm not.
Yeah, that's
okay. Sure.
So it just wasn't really a good fit. It was just kind of those, I know I want to go to college. This is cheap. This is short. Let's do this. It just wasn't really what he was looking for. So we both worked at Popeyes. Boy, when you get free Popeyes, fried chicken for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, this is where the start of the fitness, health thing comes into play, because
Those
we
biscuits
gained.
are good though.
It'll be lunchtime when we're done. So we both gained a lot of weight.
So what how old are you at this point?
This was right before I turned 17. This was in about November,
Okay.
I think, of
So you guys are working at
2006.
Popeyes, and how long do you work there for?
It was about a year.
I want to backtrack real quick. Do you have any extracurricular activities? Is fitness, athletics? What are you doing in your childhood?
So growing up, again, being super low income family, we didn't have the money for any of that.
Okay.
It didn't start until I got into high school that I joined JROTC and did flag football.
You're doing a lot of
shot
things in
rifles.
your younger years that are very counter to the life that you've been brought up in.
Right.
It's interesting.
So got into that and got into basketball. Unfortunately, something I've always suffered from is severe shin splints. And so playing basketball, I couldn't do it anymore because my legs were wrapped up like a mummy every game. And I physically just could not keep doing it. So I got into karate. And that was something that I'd kind of played with off and on. My grandmother, would help me pay for it. And I was like, okay, because I didn't really have a lot of structure in my life. And with karate, I had to have structure and discipline. And so when I went back to it, I stuck with it and ended up getting my black belt and became a junior instructor. And so that was probably the pivotal turning point in my life.
The karate portion or becoming an instructor?
The karate portion of it, which led to becoming an instructor, because it allowed me to help other kids that I saw as a teenager myself, having hard family backgrounds and, whatever. It allowed me to be an advocate to them. So
a lot of that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you line up the dominoes, it kind of makes sense. Okay, so you're not inactive, right? But
right.
You're not in team sports or anything like that. You're not on.
Correct.
Okay, and then so then you leave. I'm assuming most of that just comes to a halt.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
All of it came to an abrupt end. Thankfully, we weren't in Arizona for too long because I foresee my husband and I being in a completely different area. Like physical wise and just whatever else may happen.
How long did you work at Popeyes?
It was about a year.
And then you said you guys put on a lot of weight.
Oh, yes.
What does that look like?
About 40 pounds for each of us as teenagers.
In a year?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Super unhealthy. 2 teenagers, trying to make ends meet. One's going to college, and we're trying to pay for rent by ourselves.
So just for a little context, depending on what you start at and what you finish at, 40 pounds doesn't sound so bad, but I
was 120, pretty lean muscle.
Before you started there?
Before I started there. When I left there, I was pushing 165. And I'm 5'2", mind you. I'm short. That's...
Yeah. Okay.
So...
Do you recognize that this is happening at the time?
At the time, no.
Okay. When you're done, you're kind of like, oh my God.
Free food's free food as a teenager.
For sure.
I mean, and it was delicious. So I ate. Teenagers, no parental supervision.
I had a girlfriend that worked at McDonald's in high school, and I got a lot of free food. She, however, would never eat the food there. She's
really?
Like, yeah. Well, she told me, and I've known a couple people that have worked at McDonald's, and they're like, once you work there, you will almost never eat the food there.
Yeah, I used to work there.
You see what's
the process of it.
Yeah. You
what it looks like before
see how
it's cooked.
made, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys leave there, and then what's next?
He actually got recruited. We lived in a very big recruiting area, and
for the military.
For the military,
Got it.
he actually walked into Popeyes, and my husband and I,
did.
yeah,
Got it.
My husband and I were both on the same shift, and he was like, "Hey," and I'm like, "No, not for me. You might want to talk to my husband." So he did. They went out on his break. The guy bought him lunch and set up an appointment, and here we are 11 years later, still in it.
Cheapest recruit of that guy's life.
Yeah, pretty much.
$7 at
super easy. So, but he didn't, paint this beautiful picture for him and tell him it's all shiny bells and whistles. He was pretty straightforward with him. Hey, it's going to be hard. If you plan on marrying this girl, it's going to be difficult. So.
Now, why didn't you want to do it? Because you said you were doing the JROTC thing for a while.
I honestly don't even know.
Not that it matters, I'm just curious.
Right. Hearing about the stories that my husband has to deal with now and how you have to act a certain way and talk to people now, that's not me. I'm a very straightforward, honest person. And I would be sent to captain's mast probably more than I would need to, looking at it now.
It's definitely changed significantly since I joined in 1999. There was a very visible and apparent shift, probably around 2007, 2008. I thought the Navy was still pretty rugged when I was commissioned in 2004.
Yeah.
Of course, everybody's going to say that back in when I was in the day, but but I saw. People were still pretty brash with their language and told people they were dumb and they sucked and all that stuff. And, foul language was irregular, but you can't get away with that stuff now.
Oh, no. There's no way. There's no way. He comes home and just will tell me, and I'm like, that's why I'm not in the military, because I'm a tough love kind of person because of how I grew up.
Yeah. Okay, so then he goes to Great Lakes.
He did.
So did you
And that actually took me back home to Tier C.
So when he goes to Great Lakes, you go back
to Truth or Consequences.
How was that?
Lonely. Because a lot of the people that I grew up with got into drugs.
Do you go back and live at home?
I went and lived with my dad. I went and stayed with my father, which is a whole other story in itself. He was never home.
Okay. So how long are you back there?
I want to say about 3 months. It wasn't too long. It felt like an eternity to me. But I was there for about 3 months. And my mother...
Just while he's at boot camp and then...
He got sent to Mississippi after that for A school. And my mother and I decided to go to North Carolina. Spur of the moment. Both went over there. She had one of her daughters that was living there with her husband. That didn't work out for too long. So... By that time, my husband was getting stationed in Washington State. So drove my mother back home. I stayed for maybe a week, and then I drove up to Washington.
That had to be tough.
It just felt like a lot of time because I didn't want to be there.
That's fair. Okay. And then you guys moved to Washington. How long are you there for?
Over 7 years.
So you did 2 tours there, two sets of orders.
Yeah.
Okay.
He had sea duty and then shore duty.
Okay. And then are you guys starting to get back into fitness at this point? Like at what point does that come back into your life?
A friend actually, because my husband was on submarines, no contact for up to 90 days. No email, no whisper of anything. Super secretive. And I was just going crazy. We had our first daughter in 2009. And it was about 9 months after I had her that I just could not sit at home anymore. I had to go do something. So they just built this new fancy, huge Y, the YMCA.
Okay.
And a friend invited me that I used to work with at McDonald's. I'm like, sure, why not? They have childcare, perfect. I tried Zumba for the first time. And it was interesting. Found out that I was like 2 left feet trying to dance upside down, but I liked it. So I got more involved with that and ended up being one of the helpers that would stand up in the front or on the stage so people could watch and know what they did while the instructor went and bounced around the class.
Got it.
That also led into kickboxing. I did the same thing. Stood up on the stage, stood in front of the class so people could watch. I like helping people. Like I like being that person that people look to. So I did that for about, it was only like maybe 6 or 7 months that I was doing that because I got pregnant. Ended up having a miscarriage though at 4 months. And I don't know how some of the women, have miscarriages one after the other and just keep going. But that wasn't me. It was detrimental. I was selfish. I wasn't paying our oldest daughter any attention. I gave up on fitness. I just got super depressed. I just kind of shut everything out and just.
Do you know that at the time? Like, do you know you're depressed? Or are you just kind of like in a haze? Okay.
At the time, yeah. And I knew it. And that made me feel even worse because I felt like I could not do anything to change it.
And just generally unhappy, like nothing can make you happy at that
literally,
point.
Just whatever.
I didn't think that was a real thing. Again,
what do you mean?
Meaning, you know that it happens. Like you read it in a book, and like clearly people aren't lying about this. But it's one of those things where you don't know until you experience it. And I've always explained to people, and Jess and I have always been pretty open about this. After when Logan was born, that was traumatic in and of itself.
Right.
So then Jess goes through a pretty significant bout of postpartum depression because she feels guilty for not being able to carry her full term. And then we go through all this,
your mind just goes rampant.
Thing. And I've always explained it to people that so Logan's born in January. We probably did not resume something that would be considered normal or close to what we were before until about Thanksgiving. So, I mean, it was
short.
Yeah, but it felt like a hot minute.
Trust me.
And the way I explain it is too, it's kind of like living with a stranger. Like this person that you know, and Jess and I had known each other for a long time at this point, similar to you guys. We met in 1999. Logan's born in 2005.
Yeah.
15. And it was like living with a stranger.
It's hard.
It's not, the person, but they're not the same person. Like nothing makes them happy. It's hard for them to find joy in anything. And it's weird because there are things that they should be happy about. Well, and
that's the thing. My husband tried to help pull me out of it, obviously. He tried to communicate. I just wasn't having any of it. So it was hard on him too. It put him in a really tough position because then he started being like, well, what am I doing wrong? And I'm like, it's not you. It's...
Yeah, it's a tough one because I don't know that I did a very good job. I probably didn't. We were lucky enough. We were a little bit older, so I think we both kind of had the wherewithal to be like, we should probably seek help, and we went and got counseling for that, and it did help. But Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I would be lying if I told you, like, sometimes I just chose to basically withdraw because I didn't know what else to do. You're like,
Yeah.
well, I can't get you to be happy. I can't get you to interact. So I'm just gonna go over here and mind my own business.
Right.
Which is wrong. But
I don't
you
know that there's a right way.
You don't know what you don't know, but you're just not equipped with the tools to
There's no
navigate
handbook
the
for it,
scenario. Yeah, so I get it.
So, yeah, I decided to go back to the YMCA at that point because I went to therapy, and she's like, do something for you. What makes you happy? What made you enjoy just being around people? Because I secluded myself.
Mm-hmm.
I had no friends. I had no social life. I just didn't want to do anything or deal with anybody. So I went back to the YMCA, and it just didn't feel the same. And
what are you doing when you go back to the YMCA?
I went back to kickboxing.
Okay.
Because Zumba almost felt too happy, if that makes sense.
To feel like contrived,
upbeat.
like fake.
At that time, it did. The first time around I did it, no. It was like genuine, like, hey, come dance, come be happy, come get active. So my kickboxing instructor actually pulled me to the side one day and was like, hey, what's up? Talk to me. And somewhat let her in, and she was like, well, maybe this isn't for you. Have you ever tried cross training? And I was like, what is that? I.e. CrossFit. And that's what she framed it to. This is 2012.
So it's mainstream at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Very. So I was like, no. And I didn't even think about it again for, I think, to the end of 2012, early 2013. I had been looking up CrossFit gyms. And of course, what do you go to when you want to find out about something? The internet. You type in CrossFit and you see these creatures.
Fail compilation videos. Or
I actually didn't come across any of those.
Or the opposite end of the spectrum, which is like, I'll never be able to do that.
The first thing I saw was legless rope crimes. So I was like, you want me to do what? No. No. Now, mind you, in this period of time in between, I was 23 having heart problems. Oh yeah.
Can you elaborate?
I actually had to be, they actually thought I had a heart attack at one point at 23 and hooked me up, to a machine that monitored me, I think, for 3 days. And I had to send, it was old school back then. I had to get on a landline, and it sounded like you were starting up a fax machine on this little thing that I had to wear.
Yeah.
And it would send it through, yeah. And it would send it through, wirelessly so they could keep track of what was going on. And I was drinking 2 full-size Monsters a day, not including the coffees that I would drink in the morning with my hot Cheetos. I think about that now and it turns my stomach. I would do that almost every single day.
I do like hot Cheetos.
No. Now, no.
There was a bag back there for like a week, one of those party bags, and I don't know who put it there. We had it there for like an event or something like that. Mm-hmm. I don't even know why, but I would grab one every day. And I'm like, God, you're such a terrible human being.
But I would eat the whole bag.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I'm an all or nothing kind of person.
I really enjoyed it. I just liked orange fingers, but
anyway. Nice. No, hot Cheetos, not Cheetos.
Those are like red. Yeah. Got it.
So I had a.
So what did they find? What's the outcome of this?
They basically chalked it up to anxiety. And I was showing all the symptoms, like heavy chest pain. My left arm would go numb. I'd have like a radiating pain shooting down my arm. Okay. But it didn't show up on any of the things that they were running, any of the tests.
Do you remember any of the results of the test or anything like that?
No, I couldn't tell you.
Just curious, what your resting heart rate was and some of that stuff.
Oh, I can tell you that.
What was it?
115.
That is not...
Resting in the morning, not waking up by an alarm.
I'm going to give some context here. For those of you who have no idea about resting heart rate, active heart rate, stuff like that, I was just messing around the other day, like a week ago. I did a workout. Saturday, actually. Did a workout. We did Karen, 150 wall balls for time. I'm finished. I checked my heart rate like 5 minutes after the workout's over. I'm just curious, what is it? It was, I think it was 90 beats a minute. Okay. This is 5 minutes post pretty high intense workout. Mm-hmm. Karen, if you're doing it right, is pretty aggressive as far as, metabolically. So resting at 115 puts you on the sick end of the spectrum.
Oh, yeah. At 23 years old.
So what do they tell you to do?
I needed to be more physically active. I needed to get up and get moving because I also weighed 225 pounds at the time. I still weigh over 200 pounds now, but that is a whole different 200 pounds than what I used to be. So I was that person that drove by that CrossFit. I kept driving by and I was like, okay, there's a decent amount of cars, you know, they've got really good reviews, but it took me a while to step into the gym.
I'm fascinated by this scenario. Why?
It's intimidating. As a new person, it's intimidating because I watched those videos on YouTube repeatedly. I was that person. I was like, that's not me. That's probably never going to be me. That's a whole other conversation too, because the mental battle behind trying to better yourself, it's a deep one. And so finally my husband's like, just write the email. Just
How long do you lurk?
do it.
How long do you drive by and creep on the gym?
For about a month and a half. And I finally made that.
Just trying to muster up the courage to send an email.
Just to send an email. No commitment, no standards, nothing. Just to send an email. So I sent it, and it was actually to Kitsap CrossFit. And Dan.
Yeah, to Dan. Yep.
So he writes back.
He's such a good dude.
Oh, he's amazing. He's genuinely awesome. So he writes back and says, hey, I want to set a one-on-one, you know, just to chat like we did here. She's
talking about Dan Hollingsworth, who is also a CrossFit seminar staff trainer, but PT, physical therapist by trade. Is he still in the military?
No.
I don't think so. Yeah. I think he's been out for a little bit, but great dude. I've known Dan for a long time. So you lucked out.
Oh, yeah.
By walking into Dan's gym.
It literally...
Because you got way above average training on day one.
Oh, yeah. Well, just the conversation, it was just so easy. Like he said, there was no standards. We did a little workout, what they call the baseline, which to me, that was even intimidating. He's like, we're just here to do it. It was just him and I in the gym. He's like, don't try to kill yourself, you know. This is just so that when you do progress, you have something to look back on. And I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked because... Go ahead.
No, I was going to... So talk a little bit about, so you have this perception of what it's going to be like. And then when you go in, how far off is that? This is what I think. This is what actually happened. Tell me what the gap is there.
Black and white. High depth. Okay. Worlds apart. I built up this intimidating creature in my head. And
what did you think you were going to... That's what I always want to know. What did you think was going to happen when you walked in the gym?
What do you eat? How much do you work out? Well, why? I thought that he was going to drill me on why I was making all of these bad decisions.
You know, you're just going to walk in and immediately be judged.
Yep, pretty much. Super judgy, but it's not. It wasn't there. I mean, yes, there are those gyms out there, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's bad apples everywhere.
Yeah, so that wasn't what it was like there. And... the community aspect behind it, though, was what really pulled me out of my dark place.
It's a very hard concept to explain to people. You're good? Come in. You're good.
Jason?
Yes.
I talked to you a while ago on that phone.
Can I send you over there and talk to Rob?
Sure.
Yeah. And then he'll take care of you.
Can I walk through?
Yep. Yeah, you're good.
Community.
Yeah, it's a hard concept to try to get people to wrap their brain around. You're like, it's community. It's this weird abstract thing, right? It's community, and it's like, great, that's cool. Well, what does that mean? It's like, I like hamburgers, and that's a really great story. You know?
I met people that were willing to listen because I was just like, bleh, because I needed somebody to listen.
Yeah.
My husband was always willing to listen. But being able to tell somebody that didn't have any recollection of where I came from or what my background was completely different. So to be able to come into a gym and people just be supportive, just because like, hey, you're in here putting in work. Awesome. Oh, okay. Maybe this is a good place to be. So I kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. Started noticing I was being happier. I invited my husband to the gym. I started inviting friends to the gym, and it doesn't work out for everybody. It's not supposed to. But it allowed me to come out of my shell and be myself. I could leave everything out on the door, at the door. Come in, put a barbell in my hands, and it all just kind of melts away. And that's the same here now, sitting here today. This is the same, I have.
I'm glad. That's what we shoot for. But I just think it's really hard for us to convey that nobody here cares.
Right.
What you're coming from. All they care about, and I think they genuinely just respect, is that you came in. And
well,
they're
that's
like,
it.
and like my thing is, and I can tell, I can read people's faces when they walk in, and I really just want to tell them, like, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you for coming in here. Like, if you're listening to this, like, and anybody who's been in this for a while, nobody walks into a CrossFit gym by happenstance.
Right.
Like, they've made a conscious decision to go in there. It's like you walk by a CrossFit gym, you're like, oh, I think I'll just pop in here for a second. Like, oh, there it is. That is literally not a thing that has ever happened. People have chewed on it for months, weeks, maybe days, whatever, and they've finally mustered up this courage to go in. Like, it's a big deal if somebody walks into your CrossFit gym. Like, it is not something that, in my opinion, that should be taken lightly.
Right. It's an accomplishment in itself. Because there is days where I'm sitting on my nice comfy couch with a coffee and just don't want to get up. I just, this seems like a good place to be. But those days that I make myself come in, super happy that I came in. And I think about that on those days that I don't want to get up and move. Like, you're going to be happy that you came in here.
Yeah, I also think there's a misconception that people, I don't care who you are, nobody wants to train every day. Don't get me wrong, there's a handful of people. But for the rest of us real people that have stuff and lives and work and all that stuff, there's lots of days when you don't want to train.
Right.
That's perfectly okay. But the point is that on most of those days where you are like on the fence about making that decision, you just go anyway.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's not a great training day, it's just building habits.
Right.
So I think everybody's like, well, these people just love working out. I'm like, no. There's lots of days when it's just like not fun, and I just grind through a workout and it doesn't end the way that I want it to. But I've never been upset that I did it.
Exactly. That was a better way to word that. I don't know. It's always been a good decision to come in here.
That's really cool. So talk to me a little bit about, so you had a pretty big gap in like physical exercise or whatever you're doing, and then you go into a CrossFit gym. What does that look like when you start? Like, what are you doing? What are you not doing? Like, have you found things you're good at and you're just like, oh, there's other things you're like, oh my God, I'll never do that, or what?
I mean, pertaining to CrossFit?
Yeah.
I am an atrocious runner. Those are the hardest days for me to come in here, is when there's any amount of running, even if it's a 200-meter sprint, jog, whatever. I'm like, because I'm not efficient at it. And I think you and I briefly talked about it a while ago. That's one of the hardest things to fix, is those bad habits with running.
Yeah, it's hard to fix, because if you think about the number of steps the average human being has walking around or running, I mean, I've talked to professionals who have told me, and they're not going on a limb and say this is like 99.9 out of 100 people, you will never change their gait.
Yeah.
Because it just takes so long.
Yeah.
And so much concentration and so much directed effort at something that has so much repetitive behavior on it that it's virtually impossible. You can change some things, but most people who deal with runners be like, there's very little you're going to change about that.
Yeah. Now, on the opposite end of that, you put a barbell in my hands And I'm a happy girl.
Yeah, I remember the first day you came in here, and I forget what we were doing, but I was like, oh, weightlifting's your jam.
Well, and
Just because you move well, you're in good positions, which is, and I probably told you this, but the biggest roadblock that I see with new people when they come in is not that they have some sort of weight issues, not that they are deconditioned, none of that stuff. It is inability to get in good positions.
Right.
Bar none. That is the biggest setback that people have, because if they can get in good positions, and we can scale anything. Like I can adjust the rep schemes, I can adjust the load, but what makes things crazy challenging is when your overhead position with a barbell looks like this, and the bar is 2 feet out in front of you versus being overhead.
Well, even that 2 feet, even if it's 2 inches, it makes such a big difference.
So I distinctly remember that, and I was like, oh, you're going to do just fine. And I tell everybody that comes in, if they can do anything that resembles an overhead squat, and I'm like, you're going to be successful here as long as you keep coming in. Like, and you will do it at a rate that is significantly faster than the average person.
Yeah. No, it was good coming back in here and hearing that, because getting that affirmation like, hey, this is what you can do, you're headed in the right direction, is amazing. So where I'm at now I can start pushing the weights on the workouts, which I have been, and have been. I think like you said when we first came in here, you're not in a hurry, or I'm not in a hurry. Why should you be in a hurry? So took my time, trusted the process, which was huge for me, because I am that person that's like, no, I want it now, or 2 weeks, even a month into it, like, why am I not where I used to be?
Yeah. And that's something that that's been a big one for me. Because for me, it's always trying to figure out how to communicate with people. Like how do I get this person to calm down?
Right.
And I found that to be super effective with the whole, hey, we're not in a hurry, so we don't want you to be in a hurry. Because realistically, we're not. Like, we don't care. We literally don't care how much weight you move, how many reps you do.
Right.
It is largely irrelevant to us. What we want is people to come in, listen to what we have to tell them, trust us about the process, that if you just are patient with it, you will get where you want to go. Right. And you will get the results that you're looking for. And that's been pretty effective, but I'm always trying to find different ways to communicate that.
Well, it worked for me.
Well, good.
So, thanks.
Nailed it. Okay, so you've been doing CrossFit for 6 years. Do you have any breaks in there? Any lulls?
Probably whenever my husband went out on deployment last year. Was it last summer, I think? I don't even remember when it was, but we moved down to South Carolina, and they just don't have CrossFit gyms down there, at least in the area that I was in.
You moved down there because he was on deployment?
I have a lifelong friend that lives down here. Her husband was also deployed for the same amount of time. So we were like, hey. So
yeah, let's team up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's help each other.
And it made it so much easier because she has kids as well.
That's fair.
So went down there, and they don't, like I said, it's farmland where we were. There was just no CrossFit gyms.
Yeah.
The closest one I think was an hour and a half away. I'm dedicated, but at that point, it's just not.
Yeah, there's a cost analysis you have to do there.
Yeah.
But for the better part of 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For the most part, that 7 months was the longest I've stepped away from it, other than when I was pregnant with our most recent with Haley. Got it.
So, yeah, but we can call the better part of 6 years, which is a long time. I mean, that kind of puts you in the OG category as far as I'm concerned. For people who are 5+ years consistently, like, in an affiliate, like, I consider those people kind of, the salty dogs of the community.
I've been fortunate enough to experience Kids Up CrossFit, where they've got Dan, CrossFit Takeover, where...
Are those your only 3 gyms?
Oh, no.
Kitsap?
Oh, no.
What are the other ones?
I went to CrossFit Inga's up in Connecticut while we were stationed there.
Okay. Like, how many CrossFit gyms have you been an active participant in the community? Like, you were there for
adding CrossFit Inga's to Rife, Takeover, and Kids Up CrossFit. That's
4. I mean, you hit the jackpot. You get 4 gyms, and you get 4 gyms that are run and operated with seminar staff members regularly on the floor. I think that's pretty lucky.
Oh, yeah.
It's legit.
Been very fortunate.
That's cool.
Learned a lot.
So on that note, what would be your ideal entry? Like if you could craft up the perfect entry for somebody to come into a CrossFit gym and begin that journey who has no background in it,
The best thing that I can
what would it look like?
The best thing that I can tell people, and I told Lisa this, Lisa Papata, that just came with her husband, and I said,
killing
hey,
it.
she's
killing it,
I'm
dude.
so happy that they came, because her husband was one of those skeptics. CrossFit, meatheads, like that was his experience with it. It just wasn't a good one.
And he's in there getting after it in the
And
morning,
he had tried it. Oh, he likes it here. So I briefly talked to her and I said, hey, it's Bring a Friend Week, which I think is awesome that you guys do here, because it helps get those people who are on the fence without any commitment.
Yep.
Hey, just come and hang out with us. Just came hang out with us. And I told Lisa that. I was like, even if you just want to watch for a class, I think that you'd benefit from it. Like, you know, because she was looking for something. You know, she kind of briefly mentioned it, like, oh, I need to do something, but I don't know what. And I was like, come try this CrossFit thing. And when you're trying to explain CrossFit, you know, to other people, it probably sounds like you're flipping cars and lifting airplanes. And it's so much more than that. And I said, just come in here. That's literally the best way I can tell people. Just come try it for yourself.
It's super funny that you say that because, so I've been working on seminar staff for 5 years. And that's how we start every seminar. What is CrossFit lecture? And that's literally how we start the lecture, is we ask people what they say. And I've been doing this for 10 years. I have the good fortune of working for the company and getting to carry and present the material to the masses. And that is still one of the most difficult things to convey clearly and concisely in a manner that doesn't make you sound like a weirdo.
Well, I mean, you sound like a weirdo regardless of what you say.
Which is why I always just default to, hey, just come in.
Yeah.
I'll show you, because it's very difficult to put in words.
Well, there's so many aspects to CrossFit. It goes beyond climbing a rope or lifting a barbell. There's just so much to it, and it's overwhelming.
100%.
So when they come in, they're like, oh, that's the hardest part, is coming in, is walking through that door is the hardest part. So, like I said, even if they don't work out, just come watch a class, come hang out. Just talk to us.
That's why we started doing the Bring a Friend Week thing, because we tried Bring a Friend Day, which is, it just doesn't really work out that well, because it's one day. It doesn't really give people a really good sense of what it is, because it could be completely, made up for that day, meaning like you could tailor everything. But if you're in there for 3 or 4 days in a week, you're going to find out generally what the community is like. You're going to find out if they're judgy or if they're super welcoming or if they're snobby. You're going to find out if the coaches are engaging. You're going to find out if they're organized. You're going to find out if the place is clean.
Right.
Because in my opinion, anybody could fake anything for a day. Most people can't fake something for a week.
Right.
And that's why we do it.
Yeah.
That's why
the other thing, try different classes.
Yeah.
Because as Susan and I were talking about earlier, the 6 a.m. will probably never be my jam, because that early in the morning, my body's like, what? No. But the 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. class is where it's at for me, because that's just how I end my day.
Yeah.
And it's nice getting in here with people and talking to them like, hey, how was your day? And if it was bad, okay, I'll listen. I'm here. Cool. Let's go take it out on the barbell. So
if there's one or maybe even a couple of things that have been like the most beneficial to you from starting CrossFit, is it the physical side? Is it the mental side? Is it, I don't know, spiritual? Like, I don't know.
For me, it's probably mental before physical, because at least in my case, those nasty little voices in your head can really bring a person down. Like, oh, you can't do that. Or it's just, so much negativity without having a way to release it is a bad thing. So being able to come in here and have the community side of it, plus being able to take it out on a barbell, which is my release, for me, that's where it's at, is probably more on the mental front.
That's cool. I want to rewind a little bit, but it kind of ties into that. And I want to go back to real quick when you were going through that kind of depressed state. When you came back and started training again, did you immediately feel the benefits of that? Like, did you start feeling better, or was it like a sticky point where you're trying to like stuck in no man's land?
So there's kind of a gray area, because whenever I came back into it, it felt right. It felt like this is what I needed to be doing, because that's what worked for me. And I knew that. And that goes back into trusting the process. Was I all happy and skippy on day one, maybe even day two? No, not necessarily. But it was kind of a gradual trickle into it. And now I am happy and skippy, whenever I come in here or leave.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And then I don't remember, how long after Haley was born did you come back in and start training again?
Well, I think I came in and talked with you when she was about 5 months, I want to say.
Okay, so you took the standard 6 weeks and then, okay. And did you go through that again after you had her? Or was that kind of a one-time deal after the miscarriage?
A little bit. Not at all.
Not to the same
extent.
degree.
Yeah, no, and I didn't experience the postpartum depression or anything with my first daughter either. I more got anxiety after Haley. So
About?
it didn't even have to be about anything. I would just get super anxious, like couldn't breathe right, nothing. Had panic attacks out of nowhere. Just don't even know why.
Was that leading all the way up until you came in here and started training again? And then how long after that did that subside?
Probably about a month and a half, whenever I got settled back in and quit overthinking things, basically, when I just started coming in here to just come in here. Because I was holding myself to my pre-standards, which I still struggle with, comparing my old
Everybody
numbers
does.
to, yeah. But it took about a month and a half to get back.
I always ask that question because there's more and more research, there's more and more anecdotal evidence pointing to physical activity of any kind that helps to reduce the level of depression that an individual is dealing with. I mean, they're doing it with guys that are dealing with, PTS, they're dealing, like long combat deployments, stuff like that. And it's proven to be pretty effective across the board.
Well, and tying back into my upbringing, I don't even like taking Tylenol. That's how far in the opposite direction I've went. I'll take turmeric and stuff, for like anti-inflammatory, whatever, but that, again, whole different discussion. But of course, you go to the doctors and they ask you that little questionnaire, how many times a week have you felt this way? Well, if you put too many in the opposite direction, they'll be like, hey, have you ever thought about going on a pill? I don't want that to be my first resort. I don't want that to be an option unless it absolutely needs to be. So for CrossFit to be able to take away all of that is huge for me.
That's cool. Yeah, it's a big deal.
It is. It is.
Very cool. All right, I want to be respectful of your time, so I got a couple more questions, and then you can ask me a question. Do you read? Are you a big reader? Do you listen to podcasts, movies, docu-series, or anything?
I'm a horrible reader.
Me too.
Because I'm like, ooh, butterfly, and then the book never gets picked up again. Especially having a 1-year-old now. Documentaries, yes.
What's something interesting that you've been watching lately?
I actually, not lately per se, but one of the ones that stuck out to me the most, I think it's called Thin. It's an older documentary, but it talks about, eating disorders, and it more focuses on the female side of it.
Okay. Is that,
Like-
can I ask, is that something you've dealt with?
I used to be really bad about, maybe I've never, like, done like the whole throwing up after
Got it.
or anything like that. I have been that person that tried the fad diets, or I've been that person that went and bought a bottle of pills when I was younger off the shelf of Walmart just because it says, hey, take me.
Hydroxycut.
Yeah,
do
pretty
this,
much.
yeah.
I was that person. I've
Yeah, I don't think that counts. I mean, everybody does that. I think that's just people are falling into the sales trap and misinformation.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't qualify anybody that does. I don't know anybody that hasn't done
Yeah,
those things.
other than that and jumping on the fad diet train.
Okay. Is that a full series? Like, what is it? Or is
It's
it
just one.
doc-
It's just one documentary.
Where's it on Netflix?
Actually, I did watch it on Netflix,
Okay. I'm going to look it up.
but it spoke to me because I have Ashley, who's a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
And actually recently she's been really concerned out of nowhere with her weight being too skinny. And
Okay.
she's taller, she's lanky, she eats like a bird throughout the day. So tying back into me, I am trying to make better decisions as a parent because I'm the one that has the control. She's 9, she shouldn't have to be worrying about things like this.
Yeah.
So trying to make better decisions and keep healthier, even just snacks in the house is kind of where we're at now. But that documentary really spoke to me and like when it came to her.
Do your kids eat what you eat?
Haley does. Haley will
Yeah.
eat anything I stick in front of her.
Yeah.
Ashley, because, and I don't want to say it's because we had her at a young age, but we didn't really care about what we ate when we had her at 19.
That's completely reasonable.
Didn't, we ate whatever. So from a young age, she had bad habits because that's what we did.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
Right. So we're still working.
Yeah, I would be a completely dishonest person if I told you that if Jess and I had kids when we were 25, that they would have eaten the same way that Logan ate when we had her when we were 31.
Right.
Like, that would just be a blatant lie.
Right.
Because we ate very differently then. So, okay. I'll give you what helped me start reading. I only read 10 pages at a time.
That's
it. So, regardless of how much I'm digging the book, 10 pages and I'm done. So it doesn't, and I'm a terrible reader. I have to read one page 7 times.
which I would have never guessed because you're always posting something about a book. I feel like.
But I can only do that. But I only do that now because I've learned, going back to trusting the process. I laid out a process and I trusted the process, and it wasn't easy at first. Like, it was hard for me to get 10 pages in. I tried doing it different times a day. I tried bigger sets of pages, smaller sets of pages, and I just found that for me, the 10 pages was something that I could bite off on. It wasn't incredibly overwhelming. It didn't require a huge chunk of time because it's only 10 pages. So even if I did have to read every page twice, 20 to 25 minutes,
Right.
To get 10 pages in. And it helped me to create like a morning habit that I do, unless I get up super early to teach like a 5:30 or 6 a.m., then I won't do it. But it's part of what I do in the morning, and it's something that removes me from emails and stuff from
Right.
the world, and it's just like, that's just for me. And an unintended consequence of that has been the information that I read in that 10 pages is generally a pretty small amount of information, which makes it actionable for me for the day, if at all possible. So I'm able to retain much better because I've limited the amount of information that's being input.
Not overwhelmed.
It's not overwhelmed. So I only do 10 pages. If I'm digging it, I'm done. Doesn't matter. I'm 10 pages and I'm out. And for the most part, I rarely read. I'd say average size book for me is anywhere between 175 to 225 pages. So that puts me in a place where I read roughly 12 to 15 books a year.
Oh, wow.
Which, and this is not a joke, I did not read my first book cover to cover until I was a senior in college.
Was it an assignment?
Which is amazing. No, it was a book that somebody handed me, and they're like, hey, you're going through a stage in your life that's basically this guy in this book. And I was like, whatever. So I started reading it, and it was literally like somebody had written my life in a book.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it was super weird. So I was in on the book, but that's not when I started reading. That's just the first one I ever read, and then I had to find genres or stuff that I was interested in to start reading. So now I don't read fiction. I read like business, leadership, exercise, phys, because that stuff's interesting to me now, and I'm trying to get better at it. But I still don't read more than 10 pages a day. Yeah,
interesting.
So yeah, try it out.
Yeah.
And if it's not 10, then it's 5. But the point is that like you're putting stuff in there, and it's helping you to kind of play around. It's mental gymnastics, as my dad would like to describe it. He's like, it's not fun, but you should still exercise your brain.
Right.
So, okay, cool. All right, I give everybody the opportunity to do this at the end of the podcast. You can ask me any question you want. It doesn't have to be fitness related. It doesn't have to be about the gym. It could be literally anything.
What's your name in the baby?
Oh, it's not a point of contention in our house, but.
Or what would you like to name the baby? I'll ask that.
I don't know. We're still working on it. The second one has been significantly more difficult than the first one. The first one, I'll tell you the story. Jess has always been mad at me because prior to finding out the sex of the baby, I put zero effort into coming up with a name.
Okay.
Right. So I'm a dude. I'm pretty binary on things. And my reasoning behind that is I don't know what it is. I don't want to waste any time thinking of a girl's name if it's a boy or vice versa.
Okay.
And for me, I want to be able to envision a little person. And that helps me kind of like find the name. I'm like, who are they going to be? What are they going to be like? What are they going to like to do? Like, is he going to be a little jerk? Like, like what? All that stuff. And then that helps me like craft the name. So I've given him a placeholder name. And I picked this one because I knew she would hate it. I'm sorry for all the Tobys in the world, but I was like, we'll just call him Toby. And because we can't call him the baby anymore.
Right.
So
Baby Fern.
Yeah, baby Fern. So he's Toby. And she's like, we're not naming the child.
I'm
Toby.
sorry, but the first thing that came to my mind when you said Toby was a golden retriever. I mean, golden retrievers are great.
They're great. They're great animals. And, sorry, Toby Maguire. But so I don't know. We've been looking. I've been looking.
We look forward to hearing.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I had to ask.
It's not going to be like this big reveal. It's not going to be like, hey, everybody. Like, I just genuinely don't think anybody gives a crap. I don't think there's a bunch of people waiting around to hear what it is. Yeah.
What are you going to name it?
Yeah, we're not Brad and Angelina. Sorry. We're going to name him North Star.
Oh, God. No, please don't.
No. So, I don't know yet. I don't know.
Oh, cool.
I wish I did, though. I've been on the fence. I think I picked Logan's name in like 3 days.
Really?
Yeah.
My husband was with Haley anyways. With her, she didn't have a name until I was about 10 months pregnant.
Okay.
Just didn't really have, we weren't in a hurry with this pregnancy,
Would you say 10 months pregnant?
About, before she had a name.
Can you be 10 months pregnant? Wait a second. I feel like
oh my God.
I feel like I just learned something new, everybody.
So pregnancy feels like it takes a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've all been wrong, everybody.
Back up.
Yeah.
7 months pregnant.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a second. Is this a trick question? Okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
I had to think about that for a second.
So we've been exercising my brain, and my brain is now getting sleepy.
Yeah. Pregnancy is 9 months, everybody. 40 weeks.
For the record, if it goes any further than that, please go see your doctor.
Okay. I guess technically it would be almost 10 months if you're looking at 40 weeks, roughly 4 weeks. Anyway. All right. Thank you for your time. And thank you for sharing. I know that was some deep stuff.
Yeah.
Really cool to hear. I didn't know a lot of that about you. So
a lot of people don't.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, if you have questions for Kris, if you have questions for us, questions. If you have questions, with a Q, not a CR. Go ahead and drop those in the comments. If you want to follow us on any of our social media handles, CrossFit.com is a website. CrossFit Rife on CrossFitRife.com. Don't go to CrossFit.com. CrossFitRife.com. Facebook, Instagram, both CrossFit Rife. And as soon as I can get all these edited, fully edited, all these will be on iTunes. And they will also be on the website as well. But thanks for listening. We appreciate it. We love you guys. And we'll see you next time. See ya.
Bye.